Hey everyone, my name is Riley Shu, board member for the Albert Schweitzer Organ Festival, Hartford. I'm very excited to welcome today Bethany Dame, who is one of our finalists in our biennial Young Professional Organ Competition. Hailing from Kentwood, Michigan, Bethany is currently pursuing a master's degree in organ performance at the Peabody Conservatory of the Johns Hopkins University, where she studies with Dr. Daniel Auni. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Engineering and a Bachelor of Music in Organ Performance from Hope College in Holland, Michigan. And in the 2024 to 2025 season, she is serving as the Organ Scholar at the Church of the Redeemer in Baltimore. Bethany, it's great to have you with us today.
Great to be here.
So just a few quick questions for you to help our followers and online folks get to know you a little better. The first is, we're all brought here by our love for the pipe organ. Would love to know how you got into the instrument and why you've decided to continue pursuing it today.
Yeah, so I've talked about this story in almost all of my college essays, actually, because I think it's really funny looking back at it. So I went to a church in Grand Rapids that had a very blended music style. So we'd go from praise band to organ back and forth. And one Sunday we went from the praise band that had a drummer who was in that day straight into a hymn on the organ. And, little 4-year-old me pulled on my mom's church dress and I said, Mom, I want to do that. And I want to do that. She said, no, which one? I said, both. I want to do drums and organ. And I mean, I was 4, and this is like so self-fulfilling because I ended up getting into percussion and then getting into organ. And so I ended up going at that church back and forth between the praise band and the organ, just like 4-year-old me wanted. And I've stuck with organ because it's so fulfilling and it leads itself so well to church work. Whereas other instruments, you have to kind of seek that out, ask to be a featured soloist, and organ is always in church. And I feel like that works so well with my calling that it doesn't create friction. Like I'm always trying to be involved. Like the organ is there. And I just love that about the instrument. I love the connections and the opportunities, but also that it can be used as a soloistic instrument, as you'll see in the festival and at some symphonies. So you can really do a lot of fun things with it. But that's how I got into the organ and how I stuck with it. And little 4-year-old me had no idea what was coming, but here we are.
Well, good on you and your 4-year-old self for having that ambition and just chasing after it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Who is your favorite organ composer and why?
I'm very interested in extra musical things. So it's not necessarily the piece that defines who my favorite composers are necessarily.
Sure.
I love Félix Alexandre Guilmant. His 2 organ symphonies are incredibly orchestrated, stolen from his organ sonatas. But then also him as a person and the tours he went on and the places he visited. There's some locations in Baltimore that he came that I was researching for an end of the term project, where he did his world tours. He played at Peabody and he played at Brown Memorial. And what he did for the instrument in the beginning of the 20th century was so impactful on American culture as well. But he was also very interesting in that he never mixed his liturgical settings with his solo concert settings. So if he was playing a solo concert, he wouldn't pull in his liturgical repertoire, and in church services, he wouldn't have his secular music played. So just kind of diving into that and like the ethics and morals that he had is also really interesting to read about.
Wow.
It makes him more of a person instead of just this huge like monolithic figure that we think of.
Absolutely. That's really interesting. And you taught me a few things about him that I didn't even know. So
Yeah.
that's
And we didn't even know about Baltimore, his Baltimore connections until I started looking through that project and realized he had come to Peabody.
wow.
So, yeah.
Wow, incredible. Yeah. And our final question before we get into the rapid fire is, if you weren't an organist, what would you be?
So as you mentioned, I do have a Bachelor of Science, which I love to just keep in my back pocket at times. So I did a lot of studying in engineering and physics in undergrad.
Mhm.
I would love to have been an acoustical engineer, which again ties very closely with music. It's a lot of people who design concert halls and renovate churches, but also people who work in construction sites to make sure that the decibel levels are kept
Mhm.
within OSHA requirements. There's a lot that people don't think about with acoustical work that was just so fascinating to me. So if I hadn't kept going with organ, I was going to get a master's in acoustical engineering. So that's a very easy answer for
Oh
me,
yeah.
even though it's on the complete opposite end of what some people see as like the STEM spectrum. Like there's also that part that I could have gone down.
Right, right. Wow, that's fascinating. That's fascinating. Okay, and then getting into our rapid fire, what is your favorite hobby or hobbies outside of music?
Yeah, so I am very into bullet journaling and I have my bullet journal right here. So
Oh, no way.
instead of having a planner, I make my own.
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's almost like scrapbooking. Where's another like really good one? Oh, this one's great. So
Wow,
I
yeah.
have an entire craft drawer that comes with me everywhere. So right now it's in the corner of my room, and when I drive back to Michigan, it's in my car.
Hmm.
It's a little obsessive, but it's really fun for me. I also go rock climbing with friends, just as a way to like get a workout in, hang out with my friends.
Yep.
So that's been fun. There's a really great gym in Baltimore that I go to.
Wow, super cool. Yeah. Favorite dish to cook?
My roommate and I love pasta and hamburgers.
Oh yeah.
So anytime she's over, she always asks for hamburgers. So I make lots of hamburgers and then we run off to our rehearsals and then it's great.
And what is your spirit animal and why?
Oh my gosh. I think my friends would probably say like a squirrel or something that's like small and runs around all the time. Um,
Yeah, that's
not
fair.
just because of my stature, but it's like I'm always on the move doing something.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah, very good personification there. And finally, you're stuck on a deserted island. What three items do you bring?
I think everybody would have to say either a piano, probably a piano. An organ would be awful on an island. Um,
Lots of maintenance for
so
sure.
yeah, at least a piano or something. Um, probably like an e-reader, because one book wouldn't be enough.
Fair.
So
Yeah.
if you have an e-reader, you have a ton of books that you could bring with you. Um, I'd say maybe like a watercolor set,
Yeah,
something where you can't run out of possibilities. I could sit there with some watercolors all day.
absolutely. I could see that too. Yeah, yeah. Well, Bethany, it has been great having you on. I hope
Thank
you found the
you.
questions as fun as I did. And as a reminder to our viewers, this year's Albert Schweitzer Organ Festival Hartford takes place on Saturday, September 21st and Sunday, September 22nd at Trinity College Chapel in Hartford, Connecticut. The Young Professional competition is free and starts Saturday morning at 10 a.m. So be sure to come out and hear Bethany perform. And the festival continues with performances with the Hartford Symphony Orchestra later that day at 8 p.m. and on Sunday the next day at 3 p.m. Tickets for that are on sale now at hartfordsymphony.org. For more information on any of this, including scheduling, details on the program, you can visit our website, the Albert Schweitzer Organ Festival Hartford website at asofhartford.org. So with that, Bethany, I just want to thank you once again and best of luck in the competition.
Thank you.